Hi and welcome to the very first episode of Blooming in Brisbane. I'm Nicole Acworth and thank you so much for tuning in. And on today's episode we've got an awesome lineup, so stay tuned. I have a great chat with the local bamboo grower where we discuss the different types of bamboo that do well in the Brisbane area. I also have a peek around a residential garden in Albany Creek, and Jill, our horticulturist, shows us how to pot up a bare-rooted rose. But first, let's go to Jill with potting up her herb.
Welcome again to Blooming in Brisbane. Today we're going to talk about potted herbs. Now it's best to pop along to your local garden centre or nursery and see what they've got. Different areas, different times of the year, different herbs are more suitable. And so go along and choose a herb or herbs that you're going to use. They're always best when cropped regularly. After you've chosen your herbs, you've got to choose your pot. I've chosen terracotta pots because they're aesthetically pleasing. It's very hard to waterlog. They let the water out from the side as well as the base. And they're always lovely to have around. The herb we've chosen today is a mint. We've chosen mint because mint always does better in a pot. It tends to get a bit rambunctious in the garden and can take over quite easily. Always keep it in a pot and keep it somewhere moist. So if you've got a tap which drips, though you shouldn't if you're in Brisbane with water restrictions and the like, pop them under a dripping tap or an area where they're always moist because they are thirsty plants. And today we've just got plain common mint. You can get different forms: peppermint, lemon mint, chocolate mint, Vietnamese mint, but today it's common mint. The next thing we've gotten is quality potting mix. It's a nice friable mix with extra fertiliser and extra wetting agents to keep the soil nice and moist. In my finger is a fertiliser bead. It's plastic coated so it releases slowly, and when you squeeze it releases, but in the pot it releases slowly so the plant gets fed slowly over the next 3 months. We fill the pot with potting mix. I don't put anything in the bottom because it's got a drainage hole, and the potting mix, if it's quality, will hold fairly well in the pot. Now to get this out of the pot, you just hold it, tap, and out it comes. A good plant will have its roots holding it together nicely. And as you see, mint gets lots of roots, and they're the runners just there, which would run if we put them in the garden. Pop it in the pot and backfill with a potting mix.
Today we're going to talk about bamboo, and I'm here with Dan. So Dan, let's chat about bamboo.
Sure, yeah, thanks for coming out. First of all, I think we should dispel a few misconceptions with regards to bamboo, and the first one being invasive versus non-invasive. Probably most of the bamboo produced around the Brisbane area these days is all a non-invasive variety or a clumping variety, and that's what we produce here. So to elaborate on that a little bit, a lot of the questions we get asked is the bamboo going to spread into my neighbour's yard? Am I going to be able to control it? Well, the answer is yes, because clumping bamboo stays in a clump, and so long as you plant it in the right environment, you won't have any problems with it. The most popular ones that we produce are ones to screen out the double-storey neighbour, to create a good noise barrier, or for screening sort of a single story neighbour. As the population condenses and property sizes get smaller, then people are sort of getting a little bit more wary about their privacy, and so bamboo is becoming more and more popular to sort of create that privacy in a living and more natural environment using bamboo.
Okay, so if I was to plant bamboo, how far can I plant it from, say, a fence, and will it knock over the fence?
Yeah, okay. So working with just a couple of the more popular domestic bamboos, normally they need about probably 300 to a 500 mil distance from a fence or a barrier. They can grow in a garden bed sort of 300 mil to 400 mil wide. Most of the popular ones are very upright, so they'll grow straight up. They won't sort of bash over any fences or dwellings that they're beside, or push any. They're not aggressive enough to push, concrete barriers out the road or affect any plumbing or draining. So I don't know if I'm answering your questions. I seem to diverse a bit there.
No, often I just get asked if is bamboo okay next to my fence?
Right, okay.
So.
Yeah. No, there is lots of different varieties of bamboo, but so long as you choose the right one, you won't have a problem.
Okay, when is a good time to, say, water bamboo? Are they thirsty?
Yeah, I think the thing to mention here is that bamboo it goes in a production cycle. So when it's during the hotter months, it's going to need more water because it's reproducing, it's growing new stems, and it needs energy and water and food to do that during that period. As the warmer months come to an end, you only have to water sparingly as the plant requires it. And during that period, they're growing their lateral branches off their new stems and all their foliage, so less water is required during that time. Once the plant's established, which probably takes a couple of years, then really it can handle just about any situation. If we have periods of drought, it may fall back a little bit like any plant will, but it'll survive that and come out the other end no problem.
Okay, great. So I go to the nursery, I buy my plant, I come home. How do I prepare the soil or prepare that garden for my plant to go into?
Okay, really you only have to dig the hole about the size of the container it's come in, backfill it, water it in thoroughly is probably the biggest key to push out any air pockets that might be stuck in there, and then just water it in as required after that. Organic matter is always very good to use, anything you can get your hands on, composts or mulches, and then that'll break down and provide nutrients to the plant and assist it in establishing. Malay dwarf variegated is a really good choice for a number of different reasons. The main one being it's really hardy. It'll grow in just about any soil conditions. It'll grow in shade, it'll grow in full sun. It's very rapid growing. It's very thick, dense, soft foliage, so you haven't got any sort of long lateral branches that can stab the kids in the eyes sort of thing. You can hedge it like you would a traditional box hedge, or you can allow it to grow naturally, and it'll probably go to sort of 3 metres to maybe 3.5 metres, and yeah, very rapidly, and just create a really nice sort of thick hedge environment, yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks, Dan, so much for having us out here today. I really appreciate it. I learned a lot about bamboo.
Yeah, that's no problem, Nicole. Look, we've got plenty of different varieties out here, so feel free to wander around and have a look at them while you're here. You might see some good specimens that you could recommend.
Bamboo is a fast-growing plant with many different types to choose from. Clumping bamboo is popular for gardens and can be used for screening as well as a feature plant. And it's always best to make sure the bamboo you select is the right one for your garden.